right now they have to keep him with Punk. So this has to be Act 1 of his feud with Punk. This can't be the end of the feud. It has to be Act 1.
Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Wrestling Is Now Shitty podcast. I am, of course, the man with the PhD in Wrestlingology, Dr. Legend, joined as always with my esteemed colleague, Midnight.
I tell all you people, the Bron Breaker, he is going to put Steiner Recliner on CM Punk this Monday night and claim World Heavyweight Champion. But he is jabroni compared to me, the Iron Sheik, but I respect him.
How you doing, Midnight? How's your holidays? How's everything going?
I mean, holidays were great for my family. I'm broke. How about you?
Always, yes. I got a lot of great wrestling stuff and attire, mostly from Legends of the Past. But I'm very thankful. Had a wonderful holiday. My kids are happy, my family's happy, and sucks. I got to go back to work next week. But c'est la vie. But I did catch not a whole lot of wrestling during the holidays. I was quite busy, but not a lot happening. And this week feels a little light for news, but we did have some major things coming in, some big things coming next week. A lot of stuff we'd love to talk about and shit on. So without further ado, let's turn that Boomertron on. And all right, ringing in the new year, we have the top most searched superstars of 2025, and the list should shock no one other than LA Knight and Jey Uso fans, because they are conveniently not on this list. And I call them out specifically because, guys, I am fucking tired. I am tired of hearing this shit about these guys being super over, being super popular, being the next big things, should be the stars of WWE, when it's clear that they aren't. And I'm sorry, it's not like I'm gloating about this, but it's reality and it's facts. Look at the people on this list. Now, I will call a caveat on number 3, Logan Paul. I really feel like it's also because he's a YouTube star and he also gets into a lot of other shit outside the ring. I think he's involved in like 2 lawsuits right now, and like one big thing with one of his companies regarding his Pokemon card sales. But I digress. Is not in wrestling and not really affecting his career right now. But that's probably why he's front and center on top of that list. But I mean, everybody else on that list makes sense. Is there anybody on that list that should be on there, Midnight?
Not that I could think of. I'm kind of shocked that. Well, actually, no, I'm not shocked that Rey Mysterio is on that list just because he's got a lot of international appeal in Latin America. I am happy to see that somebody that showed up in August of 2025 is higher up on the list than an established superstar that hasn't missed much time in Rhea Ripley.
Oof, we're gonna get to her later, but yeah, I mean, go figure, guys. The shit we've been saying since this show started, that Brock is a bigger draw. Go figure, we were right. And it's not like we didn't base it on any sort of evidence or anything. It's not a speculative feel. It's not like we're Rhea Ripley fans. It's not like we're Rhea Ripley haters either. But go figure, this is exactly what we've been talking about. We base our deductions not on mere speculation or gut feeling. It's on evidence. Guys, we've been fans of this business longer than most of you guys have been alive. I'm not even trying to be facetious about this. Like
and she beat out CM Punk and Cody Rhodes too. That's what's crazy.
Exactly. So she's not saying she's not established, but to say that she's a bigger draw than Brock Lesnar is retarded. I'm sorry, and I'm going to use the R word because that's what it is. It's just silly. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, look, Hogan died this year. He didn't even make the list. Why? Because he wasn't a big prominent figure throughout the year of wrestling. But he had one of the arguably the biggest death of the year that people were talking about, and he still didn't make the list. I'm not whining about it. That's just reality. That's just how it is. He didn't appear enough. But Brock solely appeared less than maybe 30% of this year in wrestling. Still made it to the top 4 of the list, beating out someone that people were upset that he took, quote unquote, her place in some TV ad, which he actually didn't.
And Dana White said this about, he says this about UFC fighters. He says it's called moving the needle. This is proof positive that Brock Lesnar, not only is he a superstar, but he moves the needle. When you put him in somewhere, it's going to drive, it's going to give things an upward trend. And that's what drives this business. You're not just looking for consistency as well. You're also looking for people that are going to elevate and push your viewership up. Because sometimes you're not just as good as you have been. You also need to improve. And this just shows that putting Brock Lesnar in is going to drive eyeballs.
Yeah, speaking of which, money talks and bullshit walks. Not 100% related, but I don't know if you heard this, but the rumor is that Brock Lesnar is scheduled to appear at the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia this year. So, if you're talking about moving the needle and getting big heads, that Saudi money is bleeding hearts right now, trying to get big names. And I'm pretty sure they paid whatever Brock was asking for him to show up. And so he'll take his top 25 to 30 number in there, work for, 5 or 10 minutes and call it a night.
Yeah, my guess is that he'll be in the Rumble. He'll have an impact, but he'll whatever happens, gets him eliminated. Whoever eliminates him is who he's going to face at WrestleMania. My guess is that it's going to be Roman Reigns, but we'll see. I don't know. I think they might put Roman Reigns in the title picture, but he's got to face somebody on this list. Because I mean, if you look at this list, he has to face somebody on this list. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I feel kind of cheated and saddened that they haven't pushed the whole Usos and Roman situation where he was, making, giving him shit for helping him out in his matches and not doing well. Like he was doing some prominent work with the Vision and Bronson Reed and everything like that, and that just kind of faded into obscurity, and that kind of just fell out of nowhere once he came back in Survivor Series. Like wrestling is notorious for just randomly dropping storylines. Like, oh, it's not working, we're just gonna drop it, not care. But that was one of the few ones I felt like it was working, and it was getting me to care a little bit about what was going on.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, this just came to our attention. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but a TikTok user, Lights Camera Wrestling, picked this up. And a reason why I bring this up is because somebody we had mentioned on the show before and gotten some heat about talking, Miss Stephanie Vacquier, calling her a bit of an entrance and 2 moves of doom. Well, maybe she wasn't the innovator of those moves after all.
A very old episode. You see, this is from 2022, right? Watch this move that Charlotte Flair does. And I'm like, wait a minute. Let me find out she did this shit first.
The Royal Rumble Premium Live event to determine which man and which woman will headline the most
Is this not the Devil's Kiss?
What is this maneuver?
Like,
crazy.
Charlotte is truly...
Okay. All right. Now, I'm not a big proponent of, oh, you did the move first, my move is better or whatever. Like, I love the Diamond Cutter. I think it's one of my favorite wrestling finishers of all time. And I know Orton does essentially the jumping version of the Diamond Cutter. Like DDP's just kind of slant down and drove your head in the mat. I thought it was a real devastating version of that. But I like both moves. I think it's fine to have both. But this is a blatant steal that Stephanie Vacquier did. However, I will give her credit for this simply because she marketed it better. And how she marketed it better is her ring attire. That's it. Charlotte doesn't wear the sexiest ring attire, I'll admit. It's fairly average and it's just okay. But Steph knew what she was doing when she put that attire on, and she knew especially what she was doing when she did that move. And it garnered her a lot of attention, garnered her adoration from the fans and everything, and got her what her need to catapult her to the main event scene. Is it keeping her there? Possibly, but it's not giving her any more love or affection from the fans, because a lot of us, myself included, feel like she was rushed to that spot too quickly. But I don't know. What do you think about this, Midnight?
So I actually did some research for this, and I found out that Stephanie Vaquers actually used that move for several years, and it happened in a training accident in CMLL.
How does that
And
happen
as
in a
it,
training accident? How do you do that on accident? I'm trying to get off
she
of her.
was
She won't let go.
she was trying to transition to a pin, and it happened. But here's the crazy part: it happened at CMLL, and who else worked for CMLL around that time?
I have no idea.
Charlotte Flair's
What?
husband.
What? Which wait?
Yeah.
Which one?
Andrade.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah,
Okay.
Andrade.
Did not know that. Okay. Yeah, well again, if it doesn't happen on WWE TV, it doesn't exist. Which
That's true.
sucks because a lot of wrestlers they get their shit stolen all the time. And, it's fortunate though when you get over enough that you can like reclaim stuff and take stuff back, but it really sucks when someone takes something that's yours and you got to like figure out your own shit. But I digress. All right. We're back with Mr. Dave Meltzer, and he's got quite an interesting thing about AEW that we'd like to play for y'all.
Don't make this more dangerous than it already is. Sometimes there are moves where you're just adding danger to something that is already dangerous. And yes, you may get away with it here, you may get away with it there, but you don't need to add danger to what is already dangerous. There's safe ways to do almost everything. Safe meaning, you're not deliberately spiking yourself or doing like a top rope pile driver, a top rope tombstone or whatever. I mean, there's moves that probably I don't think you need to do them.
The stuff he was talking about and the stuff that we're all talking about is essentially being dropped on your head without enough protection. And there's no need for that. And, he talked about Misawa, who did that a lot and died. And, it was like, and Regal himself, who didn't take those kind of moves, but had, he's had major neck problems. Look, Regal to this day is very close to Danielson. And, Danielson's still suffering from this. That's why he hasn't come back, is because of the damage. By percentage, there are more injured AEW wrestlers than WWE wrestlers. By percentage, and I've been charting this for 5 years, it's usually I would say equal. It's like sometimes, most of the time AEW had less, but the percentage was so minor that it's not worth like, oh, we're better than you. It's like, it's equal. Right now, WWE actually is lower, but it's not like, it's not like either is necessarily safer.
Don't make this.
Okay.
So notice how Dave Meltzer has to address the fact that AEW has more injured wrestlers, but he's like, well, it's not enough to like say AEW is more or less more risky. To me, it just kind of confirms that Tony Khan's style of running his company is basically hurting his talent. And you see guys doing flip pile drivers and breaking their legs. You see guys getting dropped on their head. You saw Kenny Omega get dropped on his head. And it's just come to the point where, they're starting to speak up about it.
Well, talent is what drives your company. And the more people you have on your roster that can't compete means less people you have that aren't drawing money and aren't drawing money for your organization, which is unfortunate. And I think we both agree with this. We take the Bret Hart philosophy of wrestling. You should never try to injure your opponent in the ring. And Bret Hart makes things look as devastating as possible without ever injuring his opponent. And likewise, without Bret, hopefully suffering an injury as well. But he still sold like everything was death. He made you believe that what was happening was real. And there's, I think the art of selling really is killing this company, because now, as wrestling is evolving and growing and getting bigger, people feel like the need, okay, the stuff that happened beforehand, I need to top that and do better than that to get a bigger pop because the audience has seen it already. So I need to go more extreme. Something I noticed recently on one of the podcasts I watched, the OSW review, and they reviewed the Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage match at WrestleMania 3, which is highly regarded as one of the greatest matches of all time. But when they watched it, they were like, look, it's a great match, but I wouldn't call it the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. There's so many new matches that have come out since then that trump it. And I agree to an extent. It's still a great, fantastic match, but it's not, I don't think it's no longer the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. And that's because the sport and the entertainment aspect of it is evolving. Now, I think there's a limit to that. I think these guys in AEW, because Tony gives them the freedom to do whatever they want and just, look, guys, here's the booking. I don't care how you guys get there, go. And let them do this stuff. They feel impeded to, or not impeded, they feel empowered to go out there and do whatever the guys did in the match beforehand to top it and do better. We got to do something so that my match is trending on social media and not anybody else's, and it's leading to dangerous spots like this. And
yeah, I mean, look at what happened at Ring of Honor when Tony got it. They had to do a Canadian destroyer through 2 tables, and what happens? Guy breaks his leg, probably is never going to walk the same again because they can't sell, so they have to keep elevating it. Now, this is what Vince McMahon did in like 2002. He's like, I can't have Austin go out again for 9 months. We're going to ground everybody. We're going to ground our wrestling, and we're going to try something different. Now, he didn't have the stars to back that up, but right now Triple H does, and he can ground these guys a little bit where they don't have to take as many risks. Now, the wrestling product is obviously more spectacular now because the wrestlers have a little bit more freedom and they want to see more athleticism, and that's fine. But you don't have to be dangerous when you're being athletic, and that's the problem we're seeing right now in AEW, to a lesser extent WWE, but the facts are facts. Dave Meltzer said it himself. There's more guys in AEW injured for a reason because they don't sell anything. They don't sell a superplex. So what do you have to do? You have to get up and do 5 more moves.
yeah, it's sad. I mean, there's a reason why people refer to them as always empty gymnastics. And
Yeah.
speaking of Vince, our boy Dave's got another thing he brought up, which is kind of curious about this. I was kind of curious, and it kind of makes sense now to think about it.
All right, there was a big article that came out today by Brandon Thurston and Post Wrestling regarding the shareholder lawsuit with TKO.
The big thing that they pushed was the idea that Vince was involved in creative in 2003 when he came back, and we all knew that.
I thought that was patently obvious.
Well, it's not even obvious. It was not like every week we talked about it because we would get the reports of Vince rewriting the show. So it's not like, I mean, that's, to me, that's common knowledge. But it was, I guess you could say it was physical verification with actual emails proving what we already knew.
Cody was supposed to beat Roman Reigns that first year. And Vince showed up, and that was his call to, nope. We're going to delay it another year.
Okay, it was Roman Reigns' call. I mean, Vince had to approve it, but Roman Reigns was the one who went to Vince with the idea and pitched the idea that it would be better, it would be more meaningful if he didn't win the first time. We'd build to a bigger one the second time, and explained it. I think Heyman with Reigns did that. I think they were very persuasive. I think that the argument's very strong with the benefit of hindsight that they were right because the second year was much bigger than the first year. But it was Vince made the call, and Levesque was on board with the call, but Vince was the one who made the call. So yes, Vince was the one who had final say at that point. He had final say the whole time. He was the chairman of the board again, or whatever. He was in charge of the company, and he remained having the final say, even though Levesque was in charge of creative. Vince would still have the final say until Ari Emanuel removed Vince from having the final say.
So I had no idea Vince wasn't in charge of creative. In fact, I remember I made a post on Reddit the night after Raw, or the night of Raw, because there was a tag team match, like Roman and someone, was it Solo versus Cody and Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar at the end of the match destroyed Cody Rhodes. Like he gave him an F5, turned heel or whatever, yada yada. And I made a little meme that said, how to waste $1.5 million, like, by burying Cody Rhodes like that, because how Vince does it. And I thought that was okay. I had no idea that he wasn't believed to be involved, or was he not supposed to be involved? What's the story behind this?
So back in obviously in 2022, around July, the summer, Vince announces his retirement because the allegations came out and everything like that. And then towards the beginning of 2023, the Endeavor sale gets finalized, and uh, Triple H was supposed to be the chief content creator, but Vince starts showing up at Gorilla. Now he doesn't show up to the production meetings, from what I've been reading. And the text messages in that article from Post Wrestling show that, hey, he's going to take a few months off and then he's going to come back, and join the board. The problem was that when he comes back, there was a lot of internal resistance to him from within the WWE creative. They were like, we kind of like not having Vince around, but he still had a lot of power and control. He was still running Gorilla, and he was still making the decisions, including having the final say over who won WrestleMania 39.
But who
That's
gave
why
him this power? Like
Ari,
Ari, like
Ari Emanuel. He owned everything. He's the owner of Endeavor. So they didn't have TKO set up quite yet.
so he basically said, "Listen, Vince, is the buck stops with Vince again."
Well, I mean, he kind of just let it happen because he just started, like I said, he just started showing up again.
But
And
you said Ari gave him the power, but then he just started showing up. So what happened? Did he come in there with a letter from Ari, like, Ari guys, Ari says, you gotta do what I say, or there was just an understanding that since Vince is here, he takes the seat again, and no one questions it.
the latter, he just kind of showed back up into Gorilla. And that was the
Vince,
reports that we're getting. And the problem was that once he comes back, there was so much resistance to it. And then of course, the controversy was so bad and everyone was resisting it. The public was resisting it. The people within the company were resisting it. And so Ari had to let him go.
what's funny about this? Like Vince, people have been bitching about Triple H's booking the last 2 years or whatever, dying for Vince McMahon to come back. They forget how bad Vince's booking was in his final 5 years. Like, I get it, guys. You want to wax nostalgia, and Vince did some pretty fun and interesting booking decisions. Oh, he's never as bad as Triple H. You guys have a short-term memory on this stuff. Vince is just as bad, if not worse, in some cases, as Triple H has been. And to beg for him to come back is not you guys saying like, "Oh yeah, we want to change. We want, Triple H sucks. We need something." It's just you guys waxing nostalgia to bring back someone you believe would fix or right the wrong. But it's clear that it's not the case. Now, I will say this: I think. And I've said this before. I think Roman winning at 39, in hindsight, is the right decision. It was, then I think WrestleMania 40 is a better launching pad for Cody, and I think it proved to be right because he had a spectacular year that year after winning the title, and he got to build himself up a bit more, and it was a better story to come back in that fight, especially with The Rock being involved and all that stuff.
But what if he got hurt halfway through? That's the thing. Like, what if he tore his shoulder or something and then he can't wrestle at WrestleMania?
But
and
he did the year before he won the Rumble. He had that big pectoral thing that got him out before. Which,
yeah, so he could have got hurt again. That's the reason why it's hard. Here's the thing. Wrestling is now shitty because from 2001 until the day Vince McMahon stopped booking, he had a few moments in time where he actually had his head on straight with things like maybe the CM Punk stuff in 2011 to 2013, and maybe a few times where he kind of gave some gifts to Jeff Hardy and Bryan Danielson and things of that nature. Other than that, he's been booking absolute dog shit wrestling that I didn't want to watch.
obviously, yeah. I mean, we didn't. We tuned
didn't
away
watch.
for the longest time. Like, honestly, I have a blackout period. The very period we're talking about, the 5 years from Vince, was like 2018 to 2023. I have like no recollections of stuff. Like apparently Matt Riddle was a big wrestler. Like who the hell is this shoeless jabroni and will work in this ring doing the RKO or whatever, and a bunch of other stuff that happened during that time that I have no recollection about because it was just the product was just that bad.
So
And
from 2009 until instead of CM Punk's era from 2011 to 2013, from 2009 until 2022, I did not know what was going on in WWE.
yeah, absolutely, it
It
was just.
sucked.
I think I would because I had Peacock and I was like, oh, I'll watch stuff on WWE because I'd rather watch old pay-per-views than the current stuff that's going on. I would occasionally tune into WrestleMania just to peek and see. And I remember the last WrestleMania I watched was the Roman and Brock one where they were playing with the fucking beach ball in the background. I'm like, oh my god, like what the hell has happened? Like, how is Vince not running out there like in the Royal Rumble 2005 and getting him to like restart the match or do something better or whatever? Like that.
No,
That
it's
was insane.
it's horrible.
Yeah.
It was just horrible. It was shitty.
Okay. Well, going to shitty wrestling again. We're talking about stuff that happened this week, and the big news: our boy Jey Uso is back where he belongs, a tag team champion once again. And much to the chagrin of the Dragon Lee AJ Styles fans, they had a wonderful reign of 8 weeks, but it came to an end as they're giving it back to the Usos. And I have to call this out. You can find this on WWE's Twitter. Look at their celebration video right here after they win the titles.
Jay doesn't look too thrilled.
Jay knows this is a demotion. He absolutely knows that he can feel it. This does not feel the same as winning the world title at WrestleMania in front of, 4 times the audience. You can blow all the fireworks you want, but it's never going to put Jay back on that same pedestal. Imagine this world where Marty Jannetty was the one chosen from the Rockers to get the push over Shawn Michaels, and within a few months, he's relegated back to where he was in the tag team division. That's exactly what happened to Marty to an extent. He didn't get the same push as Shawn, but after a couple of months in the singles, he got pushed back to doing tag teams again. He started the fucking New Rockers with Al Snow / Leif Cassidy, and then he teamed up with the 1-2-3 Kid, and he never worked singles again. Like even though he won the Intercontinental title from Shawn, he got pushed back because he just wasn't a draw singles wise. And I think that's the case for Jay.
And here's the saddest thing about Jay. He'll sell just as many t-shirts whether he's got the tag title or the world title.
Absolutely. And that's not a slant on his drawing power. He does appeal to children. He has that power. He has the that fan accolade when he does his entrance and everything like that. He has them in that regard. But when you're talking about a champion, someone you're going to put on the marquee, on the face of your poster, someone who's going to sell that, or people you're going to want to see wrestle a match, Jey Uso is never going to be on the top of your list.
You have to have that big fight atmosphere. It's like Paul Heyman says, like wrestling and mixed martial arts and boxing are all the same. Why are these two guys fighting, and why should I pay to see it? Here's the key. He could still be very successful with his brother, because tag team wrestling is actually pretty damn awesome if they build around it. I mean, for a good 2.5 years, the WWE, their tag team division was more entertaining to watch than some of the single stuff they had. I mean, the Dudley Boys made an entire career off of being a tag team, and nobody says, "Oh, Bubba Ray Dudley should have been world champion." He didn't need to be a world champion, and neither does Jay. They could build some more tag teams around him. It's not like they don't know how to develop talent, and have some great matches that can really excite the crowd. It's like Eric Bischoff says, have some car crashes in there, throw the Usos in there, every Monday night against somebody new, and have them do some crazy shit to get a pop. It'll be fun. It'll be exciting. Everyone will be happy, and he'll have a great career. He's just not the guy he's not the guy to main event WrestleMania.
Absolutely not. And speaking of Bubba, he did mention, I believe, on his podcast that WrestleMania 17 TLC 2 is considered one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, and it still holds up today. And if you guys haven't seen that match, I highly advise you guys to check it out. But when he came back through the curtain, he got approached by Steve Austin because their match was coming up next, and Steve goes, "What the hell, kid? That was the greatest thing I'd ever seen." Like giving him a big compliment, like he was absolutely floored how good it was. Now, how come now we got to follow that? Like, what are you doing to us? Like, and look at the pull that has it. Tag team wrestling, in the Attitude Era was some of the peak and pinnacle. It was one of some of the best shit you could watch. It could be that way again when you have the right stars, the right stories in place, and you're building those opportunities and moments and characters. And there's nothing wrong with being in the tag team division. Well, the shit we're giving the IWC now is because they feel that Jay needs to be elevated to some level that he clearly doesn't belong in, and it
Let me ask
showed.
you this question. Let me ask this question. You saw the match, WrestleMania 39, Night 1, main event, Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Tell me that wasn't a phenomenal main event WrestleMania match.
That was a great match. It was a lot of fun to watch, and nobody says shit about that match because it was a good match. So what's wrong with that match? I always feel like when you're a tag team wrestler, the goal is to be a single star because you want to be at the highest peak, the top of the mountain. And you know what? I will take the Bubba Ray Dudley claim to fame. The Dudleys are the most respected tag team of all time. Honestly, I think that's true. They are the most respected tag team of all time. And even when they split in singles, they had a horrendous singles run back in the day in the 2002 when they got split up. But when they're put together as a tag team, they are just beloved. And that's the marquee. It's the same thing with Legion of Doom. We're both Legion of Doom fans. We absolutely love that tag team. But you can't put them apart. There's no way I want to see Hawk as a world champion. The entertainment value is when they're together and they're kicking ass as a team. And I feel like that's where WWE has lost the plot over the years with tag teams. They need to formulate and build those moments back together. I'm not a big fan of the thrown together tag teams, and we'll broach this again real soon. But at the very least, when you have a solid tag team division with teams people care about and stories, and you build that scene properly, then there's absolutely no need to push these guys or elevate them any higher, because that in itself is a promotion. Main eventing or closing out night one of a WrestleMania is a big deal. It is. You're closing out the night of a show, and that is an accolade few people will ever say they will ever have a chance to get. So that's a big honor for these guys. How do you go from doing that, then winning the Royal Rumble and opening the show with the title match? There is a distinct level. Yeah, absolutely. It felt like, I really feel like after they let Jay win, like, okay, we're pushing the moon. Like, guys, did we make a mistake here? Like, is this a bad move? We can't pull the reins now. It would be terrible. Like, it would derail Jay. And honestly, the funny thing was, pushing him really derailed him even further. I think stopping it. Let's fantasy book it now. Jay loses to Gunther at WrestleMania. Not night one main event, but in the same spot or whatever. So now Jay has the Cody Rhodes moment where he was lost once. He goes, you know what? I haven't done this enough. I need to work singles. And he builds himself up through the rest of the year as a single star, and then goes back, maybe not winning the Rumble, but in the Final Four, last two or whatever, to gain that accolade again, to get pushed into the main event and maybe win it then if he can prove he can work those matches. I think that would have been a better story, and the fans would have been more behind him than shooting a rocket up his ass and pushing him into that spot where he clearly didn't belong. And obviously, like you were saying before, time and time again, look at our old episodes. Midnight's been preaching this, that Jay is overly athletic. He gasses himself out, and his matches degrade quickly over time, which sucks. And we don't talk shit on these wrestlers because we hate them. There's no level of hate that we have for these guys. We're just speaking the truth. And what we see is what we get. And that's the same product we get with Jey Uso.
I mean, if you could have given him a year to get his singles stuff in line, like have him work, every Raw, have him, do some semi mains at SummerSlam, maybe main event a pay-per-view in between SummerSlam and Survivor Series, see how he does. That's a better way to get somebody ready other than just let's just have him win the Rumble and then have him win the belt. Way too fast.
Yeah, and it just builds crowd apathy and crowd criticism from you because, whoa, this guy, he's won the title already. Does he really deserve it? Same thing happening to Vakir. People are clamoring for her. They had to put the belt on her because they had no one else. Everyone else important was involved in another story. And now look what's happening. The Women's World Heavyweight Championship is now a sideshow story to other bigger programs going on right now. Like, how is that possible? How are other people outshining the world title scene? It's because your champion is on.
Because you haven't allowed Vakir to connect to the audience yet.
Bingo. And she hasn't had that time. It's just too fast, too soon. And it's unfortunate because Vakir's a talent. She's fun to watch in the ring. I'll give her that.
But there's a difference between connecting as a tag team and connecting as a singles wrestler. Two totally different ways of connecting with the fans, because now you're 100% in the ring moving. Like as a tag team, you could take a break or you could do some cool stuff with your partner that looks really cool. He kind of got elevated too quickly. I think there's a little bit of that in there because you're wrestling in a tag team your entire life. You need to work into that single. Look at Bret Hart. It took Bret Hart a few years as a singles wrestler before they really took him seriously. He had to main event SummerSlam against Davey Boy and put on one of the best matches ever before Vince is like, I got no choice now. I got to put the belt on this guy.
Yeah, and speaking in those regards, like when you have your talent pool that's hungry and they're trying to climb for this, like I can't say that Jay should have gone and said, "Whoa, guys, slow down. Do you think I should be pushed this quickly?" Because who's gonna fucking not sell themselves? Yeah, who's gonna like, "Oh, you're gonna give me the title? Oh yeah, let's go, let's do this. Fuck yeah, I'm ready for this." Nobody's gonna say no to that. But I really think it would have behooved Jay to take a step back, look at the whole picture of what he was doing, and maybe the crowd popularity got to him. Maybe he thought, "Look, they love me. They love everything I'm doing. Nothing can go wrong," right? And I don't like making this comparison, but it really reminds me of the Ultimate Warrior. You go in there, he has a big entrance, he gets the crowd moving, but the sad thing is the Ultimate Warrior had so much more of a big fight feel than Jey Uso ever will.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he had the potential to take instruction because Pat Patterson really worked on his match with Hulk Hogan, and it turned out to be a pretty good match. Psychologically wise, it was a great match. And he needed a lot of people to help him get there, but he also wasn't really willing to do that. Now, Jay, I feel just really also kind of choked. And we talked about this before, his timing's off, all that kind of stuff. So we're not going to rehash that. But you get my drift.
All right. Well, moving on, SmackDown is back to 3 hours. And how many more matches did they add on to the card? 0.
Oh, man.
They had the same number of matches that they did the week prior, but they just spammed it with promos and needless crap. However, I will say this. I will go back. Randy Orton returned to SmackDown in a promo against The Miz, but I felt was probably the biggest wasted opportunity of talent. Now, I love Randy. I'm a big Orton fan. I love to see him back, and I want to see him mixed up in big level work. And they had opportunities for him to come back in many ways to make a big impact. And I feel they just wasted it here because they were promoting the 3-hour show. Why not get some social media buzz? Randy Orton came back in one of the opening promos. But again, The Miz is nowhere near the draw he is or he ever was. Not only he was a big draw anyways, but he's kind of a lackluster talent these days, like an old marquee name that they keep around. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think Miz right now is not Greg the Hammer Valentine of 1992?
he's got a little bit more character than Greg the Hammer Valentine,
But like
but
as far as marquee is concerned, Greg Valentine used to be a huge name in the 70s when he was a big champion, a tag team champion, and the big name in the title picture. But in the last years of his run, he just existed. And he was just there for
well,
guys to beat.
that's true. In that they compare very well, but the fans connect a little bit better with the Miz than they do with Greg the Hammer Valentine because Miz can actually get people to dislike him. He's actually pretty good at it.
I
And
don't know what the Miz's problem is. I think he's great. I think he's a
I think
good
it's
talent.
fantastic.
I think he's fun to watch, and it's a damn shame the situation he's been at. In fact, he's taken being slighted during the Cena's Last Time Is Now tournament and made it into a push for himself because he's being featured in marquee matches and spots in the show. In fact, he main evented last week's SmackDown against Joe Hendry. So like,
If I must say myself, if Vince Russo was booking,
oh
okay,
god,
here's what we're gonna do with the Miz. He's gonna piss everybody off every single day. He's gonna spit in the kid's cup in the front row. I mean, he would have a field day with the Miz.
now, what do you feel like Randy's sudden return is here? You think it was a missed opportunity? You think it was fine? What's your take on it?
Well, I mean, where's he going to fit in if he comes back, right? I think just him coming back is a big enough story, unless there was some place to put him, and there really wasn't. There really wasn't a place to put him because he didn't really leave anything to come back to. And The Miz is kind of a safe bet because The Miz is over as a heel. And it's just it's an easy way to kind of ease him in. Because remember, these guys get ring rust. They kind of have to get work their way back in very slowly. Otherwise, you'll blow your quad out like Kevin Nash did back in 2002.
Well, here's the biggest missed opportunity. We still have that glaring storyline hole in who put out Jacob Fatu. And
Yeah.
the glaring rumor was that it was Randy because what's his name? Drew McIntyre says, well, it wasn't me. And that's a heel thing to say, just to not say, but what if it was Randy? And right after this promo spot with The Miz, Randy confronted Cody Rhodes and said, look, I'm coming after that belt. Like, I feel like it would have had a bigger moment and a bigger impact if they interjected him into a story kind of situation. Like you're saying, like, where does he go? Why not fit him into a storyline wise versus just have him randomly appear and show up? Because it would have more of an impact if he just popped up like and said like, who killed Fatu? Let's look at the footage, and all of a sudden you see Orton walking away from the damage after he punted Fatu. Like, oh my god, it was him.
Well, the problem is that if he shows up and goes after a baby face like Cody Rhodes, he's gonna get a pop when he shows up. So you kind of have to put him up against a heel first, kind of gauge the fans, and then if you want to turn him heel, there's always time to do it.
I think the WWE audience is so polarized and now to an extent that heels and faces are very mixed. Like they will cheer the heels if they like the heels and they're fans of the heels. It's so hard to get boos now as a heel. I think the only guys that are doing it properly are like The Miz, McIntyre, Gunther. You know, they're doing it right.
Where do you think Randy goes this year? Like, where does he go in WrestleMania?
I mean, as much as I love to see him as a top guy and a top star or whatever, he's getting older. He's kind of injury prone now. I don't think he's in a marquee feud. Honestly, if Owens comes back, they have to have their match. People are waiting for that match, so I think they need to do that. Go back and do that. I think that's the match people want to see. Why not? Orton in the Rumble come in there and he's standing alone, like after the 10 or 15 spot, boom, number 11 comes up. It's Kevin Owens. And then they brawl and they do the double elimination. I know some people hate WrestleMania matches being set up in the Rumble. I love it. That's a great way to set up feuds for people. Like, why not?
Why not? You get 3 months to build up a storyline, and everyone's watching the Rumble, so they're gonna know about it.
The greatest WrestleMania match of all time was set up with that spot. HBK versus Kurt Angle. And they Kurt Angle even took it like, look, in 96, I won a gold medal, but somebody kept talking about a wrestling click and named Shawn Michaels. And he got like, boom, instant storyline. Instant. And it was wonderful. A great story, greatest match, greatest WrestleMania match of all time, hands down, bar none. I love it. back to SmackDown. Now, let me ask you here, Midnight. Do you think Rhea Ripley has lost a bit of her luster? Now, not with the fans necessarily. She is still super over with the fans. But what is WWE Creative doing with Rhea right now? She is literally stuck as the fourth wheel in the Kabuki Warriors Io Sky feud, and now she's being paired up with Damian Priest again as the Terror Twins, and she made an appearance in his match at the very end of the night. She did double duty in tonight's SmackDown, but she doesn't have a story of her own, and I think that's a waste of her talent because she is a talent and she's proven she's a bit of a draw. But what is WWE doing creatively to drop the ball with Rhea right now?
Well, I think the hardest thing was they kind of didn't know where to go once they took Dom away from her, basically, right? Once they had the feud with Liv and Dom and the Judgment Day, once they took that away from her, it kind of the Judgment Day had a lot of it was easy to build around that. And so when she's by herself and she's got all this talent around her, it, they just she kind of like I mean, look at all that talent that's in front of there. Who stands out the most? It's Rhea, and that's a good thing in a lot of ways, but in some ways it's a bad thing. Here's the kicker, though. Who's that person in the top right? Slash legend. That's the person I think they're building up. And once you get a fresh face in there, Lash is a big athletic woman, and she's badass. I think she's fantastic. That's the person they need to start building up to, and I think that's what they're doing. They're kind of holding in place, getting some good matches out of her with the Kabukis and Io Sky, and throw Charlotte and Nia Jax in there, and but it's Lash Legend that I think they're building up to, and if they could get to a Lash Legend Rhea Ripley feud somewhere down the line, it's not going to happen, that soon. It'll probably be summertime. That's where I think that they should go with her, and I think that's what they're doing.
Now maybe that's another Rumble elimination spot that we get
Could
this
be.
month. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, IWC and Rhea Ripley fans, but realistically, Rhea Ripley is not relevant unless she's partnered with somebody or in a tag team, which sucks because her biggest matches and her biggest draws were, in fact, either part of a team or mixed up with Dominic Mysterio. In fact, that's how she got super over, is being a part of Dom, which is weird because Dom now I feel like has started to outshine her as far as the draw has gone, because of his marquee, his ability to stick to kayfabe and what he's bringing to the table versus Rhea, who seems to be stuck in a rut. What has she done since WrestleMania that's been
She's kind of lost
any
her.
notice?
She's kind of lost her edge a little bit, right? Like she's kind of lost that. She's kind of like normalized, don't you feel? Like she kind of feels just like another wrestler now.
Absolutely. And it sucks because she gets the crowd reaction. They love to see her, but they're not doing anything with her. And I don't know if that's because there's nothing creatively that they can come up with. Like, we'll just put Rhea up there, she'll get a pop, and everything will be fine. But if you don't start mixing it up a bit and, building up your talent, she's just going to fall to the wayside. There are plenty of guys back in the day in the Attitude Era who are just as over as Rhea Ripley was that no one ever fucking talks about again. Like, look, I'll bring it up. Scotty 2 Hotty. Scotty 2 Hotty would get just about the same amount of pops as Rhea Ripley gets right now. And where's Scotty? Scotty's never going to be a Hall of Famer. Rhea, probably. But Scotty, no way. But their draw and their level of audience affection is damn near similar. Like, you just watch old Scotty matches, anytime he comes out and does stuff, he was over as shit, just like Rhea, but he didn't have to do anything else other than his couple of things. Rhea, if she's going to be this big main event player, if she's going to be the marquee, be the face of the company, be a top quote unquote guy, she's got to do more. And what she's doing right now, she's coasting, and that's not good for her career.
It's not necessarily her fault because she's kind of worked with everybody else on there, except of course the Lash Legend, and they need to start, building up some more big heels for her because she's over right now. She's too over to be a heel. So they need to follow that whole Kevin Sullivan trope of, all right, we got to start building some monster heels and just throw them at the babyface.
Yeah, well, we'll see if she gets pulled out of this. Right now, Not sure if they can. All right, guys. Our main event, which is sad because we're talking about a show that's coming up in a couple of days, or tomorrow, actually, when the day of this episode is coming up. The 1 year anniversary of WWE and Netflix's partnership, Raw, featuring CM Punk versus Braun Breaker for the World Heavyweight Championship. And there is a lot to pull and dissect. This match, I feel, is literally going to set the stage for WrestleMania. And I will tell you why. Because whoever comes out of this as champion is going to point their finger at the person who's going to win the Rumble here. Now, prediction-wise, I'm going to throw this out there. I do not think Braun Breaker should win this. I think, or at least not win the championship match here. I feel like, though, that's the direction they're going to lean in because they want a big moment for this the Raw on Netflix. Because last year, wasn't it Rhea winning the championship on the Raw on Netflix? That was the big draw, the big title picture thing that they had.
That was one of the matches, but the main event was Punk and Rollins.
Yeah, of course. But I feel like they want to do something big for this show. And, you know, again, as Triple H may be the creative director, but he answers to a whole set of masters. So if somebody at, TKO says, look, the Netflix guys are pushing us, they want to go this direction, can you make that work? I don't
know. From what I've been told, Nick Khan basically said Triple H makes the final call on creative, and they trust him.
He also contradicted himself by saying, "Look, we build a creative team, and the way we run creative is specific to what we know what we're doing." Like he doesn't talk about Triple H, the buck stopping with him. He talks about creative being like a team, and decisions go through like a set of channels.
Well, that aside, did you watch their promo on Raw last week?
I didn't watch. No, I missed it. How good was it?
Oh my God, dude. Braun Breaker went nose to nose with CM Punk and held his own.
That's a big fucking step to say right there. Oof.
He did. He really did. His confidence is through the roof. You can sense that he knows this is his moment and that this is his opportunity to do something big and to make a big splash. And he got on that microphone, and him and Punk went toe to toe on the microphone. He held his own. It was one of the best like promo. Like it's classic Paul Heyman booking. Why are these two guys fighting? Why should I tune in to watch? My ass is sitting in my chair at 5:00 Pacific time watching that freaking Raw because I want to see who's going to win that match. Now, talking about predictions here, because this is a Raw right before the Rumble, and there's WrestleMania implications. The only way Breaker can't leave this show without the belt is somebody screwing him over, because you can't have Punk beat him clean here. You just can't.
No, that'll bury him.
So how do you? And I almost feel like it's a little too early for Braun to get this belt, because the way he cut that promo, he was like, "I've had to work harder. You call me a nepo baby. I had to work 10 times harder to get out of the shadow of my father and my uncle." And it was just so passionate and so real. And I'm just like, a great story would be Seth Rollins showing up and deciding, you know what? You don't get to take the belt from Punk. I get to take the belt from Punk.
Or what if the theory we had mentioned before, that Austin Theory, being a quote unquote double agent for Seth Rollins, screws Breaker out of the championship or gets him DQ'd or whatever and walks away? Like, there's a number of creative ways you can do this that gets Punk away from, or Braun away from, like, losing clean and not putting the belt on him. And in the same sense, I feel like there's no reason to keep the belt on Punk either. Not that the Punk isn't a draw or anything like that.
He doesn't need it.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't need the belt at all to sell merch, sell tickets. He's a fantastic talent in and of itself. People will see Punk just because his name's on the marquee. But going into that, like, this will draw so many questions for what's coming up in the Rumble and what's coming up in WrestleMania. And to be honest, the way they're going right now, I honestly wish like Gunther wins the Rumble and faces Rhodes at WrestleMania. I think that's a better match because Gunther's been cleaning through the his opponents ever since his WrestleMania loss and just pushing through that and building that up. Like, look, you call yourself like this wrestling guy, like you don't even stand a candle to me. What a great match they would probably
Yeah.
have. And
They'd have the best match of the night, I think, if it's Punk and if it's Gunther and Cody. But then again, we come back to Breaker, and you can't let him lose clean. You just
no.
can't, and you can't put the belt on him yet, because here's the thing: he gets so hungry after this loss. He goes into the Rumble and he mollywops everybody.
Hmm.
He doesn't even get touched. He shows up like maybe 20 and just ruffle stomps everybody. He points and he goes, "Punk, now I'm coming after you. Now I have my chance."
Hmm.
WrestleMania, Punk
There's
and Breaker.
yeah, there's no escaping me now. Maybe they do like a no holds barred match or a cage match or something like that to build up to it, and they just use this as the launching. So I think that's a better sell than anything else they could do right now. But I hope they don't put the belt on him. I think Braun deserves a bigger coronation than some fucking episode of Raw.
Yeah,
Which
I
sucks.
agree.
Okay, guy, I know Mick Foley won his first belt on an episode of Raw. In fact, in a January episode of Raw at that. However, that was back when every episode of Raw meant something. In fact, some episodes meant even more than the pay-per-views back
But
in the
Mick
day.
was built up for years, right? Like he had a long history in WWE. Like he had some
Right.
big angles, right? Like Braun is just breaking into the main event scene.
Yeah, honestly, I think it would have been better if he had 2 or 3 matches in the main event scene where he didn't win, but at least was there at that level. Yeah, he main evented War Games Survivor Series, but he's got 9 other guys in there. Sorry,
Yeah.
Braun got outshadowed by guys like Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns at that time. But I did like that they Iron Manned him, that they put him in there first. Like
Yeah.
that shows confidence in your guy. And I like what they're going. The reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I don't want them to see the drop the ball with Braun. This
They
is a
have to book this
rare
properly,
opportunity.
man.
He's young. He's got years ahead of him to be
And he's
the
over.
top guy. Oh yeah,
They-
he's hella over.
But he's still a heel, but they still chant him.
They respect him because they
Yes.
respect what he does, and that's so hard to do, so hard to be over. And I think the fans want this for him. I think everyone will appreciate it more if it's a more of an earned victory. Because is this correct me if I'm wrong? Is this his first title match?
Yes.
Yeah, his first heavyweight title match ever. So that's a big
He was the
thing.
Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah,
but,
he was IC champ for a while, but this is his first step, really, literally in the main event scene, like a proper main eventer. And
But I go ahead.
I think to win it first, I don't like make this comparison again to Stephanie Vakir. You put it on him too soon, and you start to get him. He becomes the face of the company, and then he starts to get exposed. Any flaw that he has is accentuated 10 times over. Like, this is the champion. This is the guy you put over. He cuts one shitty promo, and that could be the end of him, which sucks. And I know he's got Punk to work with right now, and it's great marquee value. But like you said, where does Braun go from here? What does WrestleMania look like for Braun if he wins the world title? What does he do at Elimination Chamber? And what does he wait for? Does that push Roman to win the Rumble or Elimination Chamber to have him face Braun at WrestleMania? But what does that look like with him, the belt on his shoulders? Like, I can't encapsulate anything. Honestly, it's at the same level as CM Punk right now, like where Punk doesn't need the belt. Braun with the belt does nothing to him until WrestleMania. Like, until he has that big marquee match, because he may have the belt, he may win the belt tomorrow, but he won't be considered a champion until he walks out of there with it at WrestleMania.
I agree, and I think that they're being very careful with him, though, because they're keeping him with CM Punk, and there can't be a better person right now for him to work with, because Punk is going to make him look good. He can sell for him. He's got the right psychological mindset in wrestling, and he'll just make him look like $1,000,000. You can't put Braun right now with Roman Reigns. They're not going to have that great of a match. Maybe you could put him in there with like a Cody or a Sami Zayn or someone like that. But right now, they have to keep him with Punk. So this has to be Act 1 of his feud with Punk. This can't be the end of the feud. It has to be Act 1.
Okay, well, we'll see where they go from there, but that's all the time we have for this week's show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Next week will be a big announcements. We got a lot of stuff to talk about as we get to the road to WrestleMania, as we're pretty sure we're going to start talking about the Rumble and our big predictions going forward. So, until then, thank you again for tuning in, guys. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. Please share this with all your friends, and let's keep this discussion of this beautiful product we love going. Until then, I am Dr. Legend signing off for midnight. So long, guys, and we'll catch you next week.